We're here at Beaver Creek, the Precious Metals Summit, and I'm excited to talk to the CEO of a really unique copper asset in Chile. And so I'm joined by Christian Easterday, he's CEO of Hot Chili. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really well. Great to be with you.
So let's kick it off with your Costa Fuego project. It's one of the largest copper resources in the world not owned by a major miner. So given that, I wanted to ask, how did this unique property kind of come together? Tell me the story of Hot Chili.
Yeah, well, look, like all overnight successes, it's been 15 years in the making. As you said, that there's not many of these scale projects in the copper sector available outside of the majors. There's a handful of this scale. So this has been a very long concerted effort of consolidation on the coastline to build a very large, low altitude copper production hub.
Great, so I wanted to talk about that low altitude. So I noticed that you're at one of the lowest elevations in Chile, and you have major, and you're close to the water as well, and you have water permits in hand. So can you talk to us a little bit about why that's important when you're operating in a jurisdiction like that?
Yeah, and look, why it's important is now the type of economic numbers that are coming out of the studies that we've just recently put into the market. So those low risk aspects of 720 metres elevation for where processing will occur, infrastructure advantages on the Pan American Highway right next to port, and then having over a decade of permitting advance sets this project apart from a risk perspective. And now we're starting to see that those risk perspectives are actually impacting very positive economics on the project. So we've achieved in our recent PEA the lowest capital intensity project in the pipeline. Now some might look and think that PEA numbers mean that they're very ambitious numbers and not realise that the PEA Hot Chili just put out is based on an 80% completed pre-feasibility. So the numbers are very solid, but they're also very easy to understand. You see, when you don't have a $500 million water pipeline to build into the high Andes to where our peer projects are at 4,000 metres generally, and you don't require a desalination plant because your ore bodies process better with salt water and achieve 2% better recoveries, it means that the project is skipped about US $1 billion to build.
Wow. So it's faster to be built, lower operating costs, and lower capital costs up front.
Correct.
Wow, that's powerful. Now, I was looking at your ownership table a little bit, and I noticed that mining giant Glencore is a major shareholder, but you've negotiated some terms that I haven't seen before that look to benefit Hot Chili shareholders. Can you just talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, well, look, we're very pleased to have Glencore, a top 3 miner in the world, sitting on our register. So that's great. But we've been very careful with the partners and our stakeholders that we bring on, not having a negative impact on our shareholders' overall return. And so, we're firmly in control of our destiny. Glenn, very, very pleased to have Glencore alongside us. They are an offtake partner of the company, but we have not given up 100% of our offtake rights over a life of mine. We have secured them as an offtake partner for 60% of our offtake rights. At benchmark terms, the same terms that we would sell about 60% of our product to in the future. And we've limited that to the first 8 years of production. So what that has effectively meant is that Glencore has removed a lot of risk in that we have a benchmark term partner for 60% of our product sales. And we also have the ability to bring in offtake partners closer to financing for that remaining 40%. And then, of course, after the first 8 years, the project is completely unencumbered. And then the second aspect to the Glencore transaction, which you pointed out, were quite unique terms. Glencore has a director on the board. Mark Jameson has been a significant contributor to our strategy going forward and to the quality of the numbers coming out of our studies with the assistance of Glencore. But they have a board representation and they have offtake rights while they maintain a minimum 7.5% interest in the company.
That's interesting, and that's what I haven't seen.
Yeah, before. It is, and what that means is that, of course, we don't have a classic bear hug by a major on the company. That means that every other major or every other large mining company doesn't want to talk to us. Of course, if we ever find ourselves in a takeover situation, I guess it means that anybody that gets to a 90% control basis on Hot Chili moves to compulsory acquisition and therefore removes the offtake. So It certainly has a significant advantage for us having such a reputable and large partner as our offtake partner, but it's certainly not something that is detracting from the competitiveness of the company.
Great. Okay, that's very helpful to understand how that works.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about your drilling program this year. It's pretty ambitious, 30,000 meters it looks like. I'm just curious, what are you guys hoping to achieve with that? Is part of it maybe upping the production estimates in the PEA, for example?
Yeah, well, I think it's always important to have context as to where this project is in its life cycle from discovery through to financing, construction and production. And a lot of people talk about the Lassonde curve. They base their investments around this boring period of development. We as a company and as a board have decided to take advantage of the next 18 months and look to see if we can upscale a project that is already very large. There are only, as I say, 5 or 6 projects that are capable of producing 100,000 tonnes per annum of copper production coming in the next decade. We're one of them. But we have the ability to see if through further drilling, through further consolidation in this area, whether we can achieve a 150,000 tonne per annum scale project, deliver that into a pre-feasibility that is largely complete, but finalise that next year, and submit our environmental impact assessment on that at the end of next year. So it's taking advantage of this 18-month period where we were one of the only projects of this scale that was able to be developed in 27, and using that time and now looking to develop and deliver it into production at the first possible chance in 28, in line with the rest of the players of that scale that are coming to market. So we're still a front runner project, but what we're looking to see is, can we be the largest project in the pipeline outside of the majors? And what that drives is a push towards a first quartile cash cost project, which would be very competitive. The other aspects of the project, which you mentioned earlier in your question on water, water has become a very significant focus for the company lately. We have a maritime concession for a 50-year water licence set at this stage at 2,000 litres per second. That water licence can be expanded. We will be a customer of 600 litres a second, potentially 1,000 litres a second if we upscale the project. But we're in a very unique part of the Chilean Atacama where we have very few water suppliers and a lot of undeveloped copper projects that have no water rights. In fact, Hot Chili is now differentiated as not just having this low elevation major copper project, but we're one of the only major copper developers that has water permits.
Yeah.
And so it offers us not just the advantage of being able to develop the project in the timeframes we're talking about after 10 years of application process to secure those rights, but it also means that we are potentially also holding the solution to numerous large mining projects in the Huasco region that have no water solution.
So there's a revenue opportunity there.
Exactly. Okay. It most certainly represents a potential large-scale water utility business that Hot Chili controls.
Wow, very interesting.
So over the coming months this year, we'll be thoroughly investigating the numbers and what that looks like, but it's pretty unique for a copper developer to be talking about not just becoming a major player in the copper scene, but also holding all of the items required to build a multi-billion-dollar utility company in a part of Chile where we have no competitor. And that's very, very unique.
Wow. So they say water is life, and it sounds like never is that more true than in Chile.
Correct. It's pretty dry in the Atacama. What most people don't realize is that the way water usage is going in Chile in particular, but also in neighboring countries such as Argentina, where water is a very scarce resource. Removing it from the ground starts affecting ground aquifers. It starts reducing the amount of water supply coming from these glacial water storers. And so what we're seeing with the changing environmental regulations and the environment around social license to operate is extracting water out of the ground is a thing of the past in Chile. It will be a thing of the past in Argentina and other countries where water scarcity is an issue.
Okay.
And what that means is it's driving the mining companies towards building large desalination plants And you're even seeing that with Antofagasta Minerals building their second large-scale plant, affecting copper production because they're trying to build it and supply water as quickly as possible. That'll bring them to, I think, 62% of their water supply desal. But they all have ambitions to go 100% desal over the coming decade. And that is reshaping water usage, water supply, particularly in areas such as Chile. So to be holding the only maritime concession in this part of the coastline is a significant advantage. That would be an understatement.
Yeah, I hope everyone listening realizes how unique that is now after that great explanation from Christian. So maybe let's kick things off or end things with, you're fully funded for at least the next 18 months. Kind of, can you just summarize for everyone what are the next milestones we should be looking for?
Yeah, very, very simple pathway now that we've done completed 15 years of our marathon 20-year timetable to bring a major copper discovery or hub through to production. So to us, it doesn't feel like a long part of the race left to run. Now that we have the PEA and we've set a baseline on the numbers, it's about trying to optimise that pre-feasibility, which is just sitting paused with about 4 million, 5 million potentially at the most left to spend on it. We'll deliver that at the end of next year, which will allow us to deliver our environmental impact assessment. We anticipate a 2-year approval timeframe from the Chilean government, which is the same timeframe we're setting for the completion of our bankable feasibility study.
Okay.
And also starting to run our parallel engagement process with potential project funding partners. And that means that we'll be in a very strong position in late 26 to look at a financing investment decision on a project that should be $2 billion, but is $1 billion. And more importantly, I think that timing of 25, 26 is where we start to see a decline in supply to the market. We'll see the market balance for copper on supply and demand start to shift towards deficit. And I imagine the pinch point for the acknowledgement that this is actually happening, that we are seeing a demand shift for copper that cannot be supplied by the industry. And of course we saw that with iron ore, and we saw that with lithium, and it drove dramatic re-rates of the copper prices, of those commodity prices initially.
Yeah.
So our timing looks good.
You could be hitting a sweet spot there.
Where we see this. We're also one of the first in line of the major projects to be coming to the financing table. And so I imagine that the economics are going to be in a very different situation at that point in time. But we're pretty conservative at Hot Chili. We see some other companies being maybe very optimistic and using price assumptions twice what the consensus is and very low discount rates for large-scale projects, maybe not understanding where inflation and cap and model is at the moment. But our economics are quite robust on that basis. We don't need to put in $8 per pound copper to generate the type of numbers that we're looking for. But certainly we do have a view on copper, and we're optimistic about where the price will go.
That's great. I think that was a great roundup on Hot Chili. I'd recommend you guys check it out. A very unique asset in the world. There's not many like it. And Christian gave us a good taste of everything, but there's a lot more to dig into. So Christian Easterday, CEO of Hot Chili, thanks for being with us.
Great. Thank you.